Go ahead and share my screen real quick. All right, here. All right, so we'll look at my screen for just a moment. Still a moment before 11 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Both of you.
Maybe you want to come and listen to this.
All right, so it's 11 o'clock. How about we just give maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes for folks to join us, and then I'll start.
Yeah.
Good morning to all of you. This is Marisela Quesada. I will be the interpreter for today's meeting. I will go ahead and now let the monolingual Spanish speaking attendees that there will be interpretation available. This meeting will be in English with interpretation into Spanish. Thank you. Buenos días, mi nombre es Marisela Quesada. Seré la intérprete para esta sesión o taller o junta. Esta reunión será en inglés con interpretación al español. Si necesita interpretación, por favor, vaya a la barra de herramienta de Zoom, encontrará el símbolo o icono del mundo, haga clic y seleccione su idioma de preferencia, sea español, para escuchar la interpretación en español. Gracias.
Thank you, Marisela. Good morning, everybody. This is the disembodied voice of Paul Farmer, the COO of the Monterey County Business Council and the leader of Building Business Back. I will share our agenda. And in just a moment, you will hear from California State Treasurer Fiona Ma. Our agenda for today is a brief welcome, some comments by Mr. Daniel Su from the William and Stephanie Foundation, who will introduce the Honorable Treasurer Ma. And after her welcome from the state, talking a little bit about what the state of California is doing to help businesses, then I will review the Building Business Back website, which is available at montereycountybusiness.com. My presentation will be about 15 or 20 minutes, and it includes a number of resources that you can find all on our website to help your local business recover from the pandemic. After my presentation, we will pass it over to Mr. Andrew Anson, who is a partner of ours who will talk about the Employment Retention Tax Credit. The Employment Retention Tax Credit is bringing millions of dollars to businesses in Monterey County, and Mr. Anson will talk to you about that and what types of businesses are eligible, and we will have time at the end for questions and answers. So that is our agenda for today. I will stop my share and introduce Mr. Daniel Su. He is the chairman of the William and Stephanie Foundation, and he is a strong advocate for businesses. Mr. Su, please take it away.
Well, thank you for that introduction. Good morning, everybody. And I have the dubious honor of introducing the California State Treasurer, Fiona Ma. But first of all, let me talk a little about how we've been working with her and her office in helping businesses through the pandemic. Since the pandemic, we've done multiple webinars with the state treasurer, along with SBA and multiple other government agencies to address the different issues of small businesses. the state treasurer is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to all that is within the state, new programs, programs opening up, ones that are working, ones that may not be working, strategic introductions to government agencies. And so she's not just your state treasurer who watches the money coming into the state. She's also very active throughout the state in meeting with businesses, seeing how they can be of help to assist businesses in the recovery, and actually taking an active role in doing so. So in that, the state treasurer is the 34th state treasurer in California. As we all know, the 5th largest economy, the first women treasurer in the state of California, and a real resource towards helping businesses recover. So at that, I'd like to introduce the California State Treasurer.
Thank you very much. Can you all hear and see me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul, for having us here today. And over the last 2+ years, I've done over 300 Zoom webinars, just trying to get the resources out, federal, state, local, and private sector resources that are available to help businesses survive and thrive. And now post-pandemic, there's still a lot of money coming from all different sources. As your state treasurer, I am your banker. Last year, $3.2 trillion came into my office, a little bit higher than usual because of the assistance that we have received from the federal government. And today I'm going to talk about some of the programs that are directly related to my office. Paul, I'm sure you're going to talk about some of the new programs that are going to be coming down the line. And if need be, we can jump on another call as these programs roll out, because there are some requirements and we really want people to be prepared when these programs, the funding is available, because some of it is competitive. And if you're not ready with your paperwork when the opening bell opens, then many small businesses are not getting the resources that they need because they just haven't been prepared to apply for all of the different grant and loan programs that are coming down the pike. In my office, besides being the banker, I also manage the short-term portfolio for the state and for 22 local government units. Portfolio is $208 billion today. And I also issue all the bonds for the state of California, revenue, general obligation bonds that has continued to keep people working even during the pandemic. I also chair 15 boards, commissions, and authorities that funds all sorts of infrastructure projects, schools, hospitals, affordable housing, green energy, advanced manufacturing, and I oversee 3 savings programs. So I'm just going to touch on a couple of them here today that may help some of your members during, at this time. First off, our CalCap for Small Business program. CalCap for Small Business. We provide a loan loss reserve for participating lenders so that they will be incentivized or more encouraged to lend to folks that may have a difficult time getting traditional financing from the big banks or even their community and credit unions. It's great for such uses like startup costs, working capital, franchise fees, equipment, inventory, and the purchase, construction, renovation, or improvement of an eligible place of business. So these loans are a little bit more user-friendly because we have heard that people need operating expenses. They need to pay for their rent, their utilities, and their payroll. And so think about CalCap for Small Business for these needs. Also, our CalCap CARB Heavy Duty Air Quality Loan Program. This partnership was launched in 2009 with the California Air Resources Board, and it's really to assist small business owners who have heavy duty vehicles affected by CARB's truck and bus regulation and other pollution mandates. We really are trying to go to zero emissions, but some of these trucks are not there yet. And so this loan program is really trying to encourage folks to try to get as green and clean as possible as better technology rolls out for our commercial trucks. Our sales tax program exemption is for those companies that are buying equipment, expensive equipment that is going to clean and green our environments. This is a competitive process and companies apply in 3 rounds. And if granted, you can save or waive that sales taxes that you would have paid on that equipment. So let's say Monterey County is 10% and you buy, a $10 million piece of equipment, you can actually save on the sales taxes and put that money back into operations. And this has proven to be a game changer for many companies that are staying here in California and wanting to grow here. We also have a lot of financing programs under our gogreenfinancing.com website. The latest one is for business facilities. Basically, again, we have participating lenders who are willing to lend to businesses so that they can improve their energy efficiency measures. For example, your HVAC, your LED lighting, appliances, and flexibility also to dedicate to portions of non-energy measures like remodeling or landscaping. So again, check us out for those type of programs under www.gogreenfinancing.com. And I also provide or oversee the tax credits and bonds that goes to build affordable housing. We have been busier than ever over the last 3.5 years, thanks to Governor Newsom giving us an extra $500 million in state low-income housing tax credits. We also got help from the federal government in additional 9% disaster credits that is going to help build in those areas that have been devastated by the 2017 to 2020 wildfires. In Monterey County alone, over the last 2 years, we have awarded 6 new construction projects and other acquisition rehabilitation projects. Number of units is 563 units totaling 563, and low-income housing units are 556. And where focus is really on extremely low and very low income residents, trying to help our fellow brothers and sisters get off the street and have a roof over their head. The 3 savings programs I oversee to close is ScholarShare 529. We are really trying to encourage parents to keep their kids out of high student loan debt. We know that college costs are going up, but if you start saving for your child, even $100 for 18 years, $100 a month for 18 years, that could accumulate up to $68,000. If you put in more, obviously that amount would get bigger. And so we are looking to cities, counties, special districts, associations to partner on getting the word out about ScholarShare 529. And that website is www.scholarshare529.com. And then another important program, and we have a deadline coming up this June 30th, is my Cal Savers program. And this is available to any employer who does not offer a retirement savings account for their employees. If they have 5 or more employees, they will have to register their employees with our program, calsavers.com, by June 30th. So this is a deadline that many small business owners don't know about, and we're really trying to make sure we keep people out of trouble. But once the employer works with us to upload their roster, there is no further legal or financial obligation on behalf of their employer. So we have lots of employers that are pitching Cal Savers as a benefit or a perk. And again, this is like a Roth savings program that is available that would encourage your employees to save for retirement, or sometimes something happens, the car breaks down, their roof, falls in. There's just something that is unexpected. And so they can actually access their Cal Savers account and not go into further debt. So we have many programs. I thank you for this opportunity to just talk a little bit about some of our programs. If you have any problems, issues, you can't get connected to an agency, you're looking for your refund, you threw away your stimulus card, you don't know what's happening, with the DMV, please feel free to email us at askfiona@treasure.ca.gov. And Catherine Asprey, that's her entire job, is to monitor this email, respond, text, phone calls, whatever it needs. We are really here to help you. So again, thank you all. Stay safe. Look forward to seeing everyone in person very soon. Thank you, Paul.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Treasurer Ma, for joining us today. We were very delighted to hear that you made time for us. We know you have a zillion Zoom meetings and others. If anybody has a quick question for Treasurer Ma before she leaves, you can type it in the chat box right now. Otherwise, we just sincerely want to thank you. I want to remind everybody that we are recording today's session. We will put it on our website because I know Treasurer Ma shared a lot of valuable resources. If you didn't catch everything, don't worry, you'll be able to see it again. We also have a link to the state website with the many resources that are there. So with that, we want to thank Treasurer Ma. We will talk a little bit more about Daniel Su, who is also a partner with us with the William and Stephanie Foundation. So let's have wild applause for Treasurer Ma. All right. Okay, great. So let's move on with the presentation. And Treasurer Ma, thank you again. All right, I'm going to share my screen. If you're coming in late, my name is Paul Farmer. I am the COO of the Monterey County Business Council, and I am leading the Building Business Back program. The next part of our presentation, I'm going to show you our brand new website. You are welcome to follow along with that website if you like. And I'm going to point out a number of resources that are available, different loans and grants that your business may be eligible for. So I'm going to go over to share my screen now. You should be able to see the Building Business Back website. If you want to follow along yourself from your own computer, the URL is montereycountybusiness.com, or you can just follow along with me here. Okay, so I'm going to start with some of the things that are easier, and I will end with us showing all of the resources that we've listed here, which is really the money and grants that are available. But I'm going to give you a quick review of our website first, okay? So on the right-hand side, we have About Us, and I will show you. This is our small but mighty team. We have Grace McFall is our part-time social media specialist. Philip Saldana and I are our full-time staff members for the Building Business Back program. Our vision is to help Monterey County businesses recover from the pandemic by offering resources, connections, and support. And you're going to see as I go through our website that we have a special emphasis on helping businesses that are minority-owned, that are women-owned, that are LGBTQ+, or also disabled veteran. If you look at our website, up at the top right-hand side, you see a flag that says English. You can click Español and work on your Spanish. The website is 100% translated into Spanish. So at any given time, you can see the website in Spanish. So that's the About Us tab, so you can see our faces. The next link is our partners. We are pleased to work with the Small Business Administration, Cal Coastal Small Business Development Center. Cindy Mirzon is on the call, a very vital program and partner for us, as the Small Business Development Center is often an entryway into finding resources that are available for your business. We also work with El Pájaro Community Development Center, and the SCORE, which is the Service Corps of Retired Executives. We also partner with the local chambers of commerce. And in the middle here, we have the Workforce Development Board. I want to say thank you very quickly to our hosts, the Monterey Peninsula Chamber, where we are now. Woo! Monica Law back there. So we're doing this live here in Monterey. And I also want to thank the Workforce Development Board, where we are doing it in Salinas. So, and then everybody on Zoom. Okay, so those are our partners. Minority-owned businesses. So you'll see that we just released our website the week before last. We are continuing to build a number of the programs. And so minority-owned businesses and resources for them is an area that we will be releasing more information very soon. Again, it's businesses owned by minorities, women, LGBTQ+. So currently, we have some links to other organizations in our area that support those objectives. But I would say this page is a stay tuned. We've got a number of different things that we're working on and that we'll be releasing in the near future. Okay, now we come over here to the top left, and I'm looking at the workshops. So you all found this, Money for Your Business. This is the workshop we're in today. We will always have our upcoming workshops here. Once the workshops are over, we will be recording them all. We will have a library of the workshops in case you miss any. You're able to check it out afterward. So this is our first workshop, and we're pleased to have you here for this one. The next tab is federal funding. So when you click on that, there are 4 different areas here. So the first one, we tried to keep the website very clean. So this just talks about the CARES Act. The Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act. So the CARES Act is the act that was responsible for bringing the PPP, the EIDL, funds that helped a lot of businesses get through the pandemic. And the CARES Act is also the legislation that enabled the employment retention tax credits that we'll speak about later. So this is just a brief explanation of the CARES Act. But if you want to read the whole thing, there's a link to the policy right here. The next link is what we call ARPA, the American Rescue Plan. So this one was in 2021. And the ARPA plan brought a lot of money to cities and counties. It brought money to the County of Monterey, which is helping pay for the Building Business Back program. So again, a very brief overview of what the ARPA plan is. And then if you want to read about it in detail, it's here on the bottom. The next link is the infrastructure bill. So this was the bipartisan infrastructure deal that the Biden administration passed with Congress to rebuild America's roads, bridges, and rail. So again, a brief overview of what it was, and then the details here on the bottom. It is our intention for Building Business Back to be the hub for businesses in Monterey County to understand what resources are available to help your business. One of the things that we are working on is understanding the local investments that have been received by cities and the county. So we have a table here that shows the County of Monterey received $84 million in ARPA funding, American Rescue Plan Act. And the county is dedicating that money to economic recovery, the pandemic response, and infrastructure. So when we look at all of the resources that were made available for people to get tested for COVID, that money partly came from the county's ARPA and ARPA money they received from the federal government. The economic recovery, about $15 million from the county has been dedicated to helping business recover. And if you want to go into greater detail to see how money is being spent, invested in your community, then we're placing links down here below so that you can see what is Salinas doing with their money, for example. So I won't go into great detail here, but I will show you, you can come in here and see the city of Salinas's recovery plan under the American Rescue Plan Act. So they're spending $11.5 million on public facilities, 12 million on public infrastructure, including sidewalk and street repair, investments in water and sewer, and homelessness, 12.6 million. So again, our website for Building Business Back will serve as the hub for businesses who want to understand what dollars are coming to them. Now, one of our workshops that we'll be doing in the future, I will share those at the end of my presentation, but we'll talk about that money that's coming in. If you work in construction or another business that might be able to apply to compete for those dollars and that work, we're here to help you understand that process, okay? So this is the local ARPA investments. The federal funding tab then just gives a high-level overview of all of these very important legislation bills, and then has all of the detail there as well. All right, the last tab that I want to spend the most time on is resources. Okay, so there are some tabs at the bottom on local government contracting. We will have a workshop in the future that talks about that. So again, if you want to find out about bid opportunities with the city of Salinas, there is a link here where you can see what requests for proposal are open. I can click here and just see what bid opportunities are available through the city of Salinas. They're all here. Again, we will spend time at a future workshop showing you how to become registered as a vendor and how to improve your chances of winning any of these contracts with the city of Salinas or any of the other local jurisdictions. So we have placed on our website all of the links for the various cities in the county so you can find what contracts they're bidding out currently, okay? Next, we have a few links for COVID-19, including grants and loans. I won't go through that one. I want to spend my remaining time explaining a few different credits that are available here. So first, I will talk about the grants for microbusiness. So this is a grant of $2,500 for micro businesses in the county of Monterey. So you must be based in the county of Monterey. You need to have revenue in 2019 of $50,000 or less. So this is for very small businesses. And the Monterey County is using the Workforce Development Board as the partner for businesses to apply for this relief grant. They have about $500,000 available, which is enough for grants of $2,500 for about 150 micro businesses in Monterey County. So these are grants, not loans. They do not need to be paid back. So again, you can just remember the Building Business website, resources, and that one's called Grants for Microbusiness. The next one is called Monterey County Revolving Loan Fund. I want to welcome Richard Vaughn, who I just saw join our meeting. He is the Economic Development Manager for the County of Monterey. The Monterey County Revolving Loan is a fund that the County of Monterey has put together to offer loans, not grants, but loans to businesses that are located in Monterey County. And this link at the CalCoastal website explains a little bit more about the loans. They're from $5,000 to $250,000, the maturity, the interest rates, and the loan application. Everything is listed right here if you want to apply for a Monterey County revolving loan. Again, this is intended to help businesses that want to start or grow in Monterey County, but may not have access to traditional capital through banks. Maybe they have not been in business long enough. Maybe they don't have some of the guarantees that the banks might require. Okay, that's the Monterey County Revolving Loan Fund. The next one is called Comcast Rise. This is geared toward women-owned businesses. The deadline for your application is June 17th, so we have a little bit more time. It explains the eligibility. At least 51% and owned and operated by someone who is Black, Indigenous, purple, person of color, or a female. And it talks about what they provide, which is marketing support as well as possibly some money. So I don't have time to go through each of these in detail, but I want to show that this is here. The employment retention tax credit is the main purpose of our discussion today. So we will share the PowerPoint presentation that you'll see today. It will be listed here. There's a California Competes tax credit program, which I will show you that one very quickly. So this is basically to keep businesses within California if they're considering leaving for other states. If you look at the application period, it has already expired for this year. However, this is an ongoing program that we expect to be renewed for next year. So we will keep an eye on this, and when the applications for the next period open up, you'll be able to find all the information here. But the amount of money that is spent on California Competes, if you look lower here, there's a flyer that shows you how many millions of dollars. So in 2021, for the quarter from July 26th to August 16th, $150 million, then $140 million, and $104 million in 2022. So again, we put all of that information available for you. That's the California Competes tax credit program. The last one I'm going to show you today is called Restaurants Care. Okay, these are, and this one, the applications are due by April 30th. This is a partnership with Restaurants Care, which is a nonprofit, and Pacific Gas and Electric Company and others to offer grants of $3,000 to independent restaurants. So not for chains, but for those smaller restaurants, they can get a grant of $3,000. And if you look through the FAQs and the other information here, you will see that those grants can be used either to pay employees so you can retain them. They can also be used to upgrade equipment in your kitchens, commercial kitchens. And because this is underwritten by PG&E and other energy companies, they want to encourage you, if you're updating equipment, to buy energy efficient appliances and things like that. So again, this is directed toward restaurants. It's $3,000 grants, and there's only a few more days to apply for that. And again, you can find the link under resources on our website for MontereyCountyBusiness.com. The last thing that I will share with you is what our upcoming workshops look like. So let me pause that share. Let me show you our upcoming, and then I will shift over to our partner who will talk about the employment tax credit. Okay, so let me share one more time here. This is just to tell you what we've got upcoming. Okay. All right. So I will walk through my presentation here. All right. All right. So our next workshop will be on May 25th. I mentioned the federal rescue plan and the investments we're doing in each community. So we have some leaders from the city of Salinas who will talk in detail about the money that's being invested in the city of Salinas. We will do this workshop about investments in your community multiple times. We're going to do it 3 times, one covering South County, another covering the peninsula. This first one is in Salinas and possibly also the county of Monterey. Our next workshop after that, we're going to talk about what you have to do to get certified as a diverse supplier. That means a woman-owned business, LGBTQ-owned business, disabled veteran, or minority-owned. So we will release the date for that. We're going to walk you through how you get certified as a diverse supplier. And then our following workshop in July will be an introduction to identifying and applying for government contracts. Okay, so those are our upcoming workshops. I will tell you that, let me stop my share here. That again, we thank you for joining us today. Our purpose is to be the hub of all this information for businesses, because we understand it is difficult for you to identify all these different opportunities. It's kind of like a part-time job on the side. So we're here to do that. If you have shared your email address with us, we will keep you posted on future opportunities that come up. But with that, I will close my section and I will introduce Mr. Andrew Anson. He is going to talk with us about the Employment Retention Tax Credit. Andrew, you're a co-host, so I'm going to let you share your screen in just a second. But I will tell everybody that the Employment Retention Tax Credit is the single most important tax credit that is still available to help businesses in Monterey County. There are multiple entities that you can choose to work with, but our organization, Building Business Back, has done our due diligence and has entered into a partnership with ERTC Funding, which is one of those vendors. So they're going to help people understand what the process is, and they can help with the paperwork as well. So I see the questions that are coming up in the chat box. We'll have some time for Q&A at the end, but for now, I want to introduce Andrew Anson. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I really appreciate the opportunity. I learned a lot just in your presentation, so I need to go back to your website and absolutely take the time to learn about some of these programs. Both my partner and I we're putting that on our checklist of to-dos. So a little bit about Idea Driver. I'm going to go ahead and pull up our presentation while we go over. And please let me know if you can see it, because technology is always giving us challenges as well as rewards.
Yeah, we can see it.
Excellent. Okay, so the Employment Retention Tax Credit is basically a program that came out of the CARES Act, and it's primarily focused in on helping businesses recover that were impacted by government shutdowns or decreases in revenues, or there's a third caveat, which is you started, I believe, after February 15th of 2020. But basically, this is intended to help those businesses that, for example, had to shut down their dining rooms or their areas where they had to have folks participate in their business. I'm sure they had to pivot, other challenges. So this particular program is focused in on helping those particular businesses through this challenge. First, I just want to thank California Treasurer Fiona Ma. That was awesome. Thank you, Daniel Sue and William Stephanie Foundation for that help. We're excited to be helping out Monterey here, and we love this campaign, Building Business Back. It's something that's part of my heart for many, many years, so I'm excited to be helping out. A little bit about Idea Driver. Like I mentioned, we have a history of these types of advocacy and projects. Myself, I've been on the Workforce Investment Board at the Pacific Gateway. My partners work with California State Senate. I'm really proud of the work I've done at Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses, which is a phenomenal program. It's like a 6-month mini MBA program for small business owners. If you apply, it's all paid for by the program. So if you have one close by, please take a look at it. It's awesome. Some other programs, worked in banking. And then also I'd say where the roots of my presentation today come from, participating in helping folks understand enterprise zones, and more importantly, helping banks understand how to work with enterprise zones to help businesses. So that was kind of the germination of finding these types of programs that are out there that might seem a little complicated, maybe a little intimidating, and helping people understand, how to access them, and of course, giving more folks access to them. Right. And as you've heard earlier, Daniel Sue, he's on the line with us. He helped introduce the treasurer. His organization has worked with underserved communities of all ethnicities, and they work on programs very much like this, helping with economic development, as well as initiating events and opportunities in the energy theme, cultivating youth, sense of social responsibility, and environmental sustainability. Our other partner that'll be available to anybody who's interested in this program is ERTC funding. As Paul shared earlier, they are very, very focused in and specialized on this type of program. These types of programs are what they work on over their history. So for example, they've geared their team to help get through this particular program. There's a lot of little nuances. We'll dive into some of them today, but you'll see that it does require some understanding of how to navigate through the program. Their background is they're used to accelerating access to these programs. So for example, during the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program, they helped over 100,000 businesses secure financing from that program. And so their back office is really, it's a bulletproof back office support operation where they take care of risk management. They have cloud software that helps everybody kind of stay on top of it. They have triple redundant tax accounting because they want everybody to make sure all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed. And then there's also a top 5 legal firm that reviews the file before it's submitted. They also do provide financing, and we can get into that question later. But that's just something, a little background on the group. And Laura Chanel, she's going to be our speaker and answering these sort of technical questions so that I don't put my foot in my mouth or misdirect anybody in the wrong direction. So let's get right into it. COVID had a huge impact on everyone. If you weren't, you're very, very lucky. And so what we're looking at here is just a quick little slide on some industries that were probably impacted in Monterey County. Obviously accommodation, food services, retail, trade, agriculture, professional, scientific, and technical. I'm sure there's other sectors that were impacted as well. But the main message here is that it's going to take some time for some industries. Some are going to take longer, others are going to be able to get back on their feet more quickly. But the whole point here is that there are folks out there that could use the help, and we want to help them. So I know that Paul went over a number of the programs that he's highlighting through the organization. These are just a number of other relief programs that were deployed either federally or at the state level. I love the fact that PG&E and some of the utilities and municipalities are putting together their own programs. I always encourage people to be vigilant and looking for those types of programs. You'd be surprised where the help's at, and if you just make the effort, it's possible. So, of course, today we're going to be talking about the Employee Retention Tax Credit Program. So just a little kind of basic 101, as far as taxes are collected, there's a number of different types of taxes that are collected. This is as of July 2021. We're going to be focusing on the payroll taxes, but I'm sure everybody's had experience with some of these other types of taxes that we run into. Okay, so before we get into an employee retention tax credit, which is a big mouthful, I just want to make sure that we understand what a tax credit is. And at the end of the day, it's basically a dollar-for-dollar reduction to your tax bill. And some of you may have come across examples of these types of tax credits, a child tax credit, maybe you applied for a recovery rebate credit, there's the earned income tax credit, and then there's the health coverage tax credit. And there's a lot of other ones, but this is just to help us understand that the point of a tax credit is to help ease a burden or help provide support in one manner or another. All right, so the employee retention tax credit really is focused in on those employers that did everything they could to keep their employees on. In the spirit, that's the basic premise of the program. And so it provides a fully refundable tax credit that was really, again, created to assist those employers to keep their employees on the payroll. And so it currently covers a number of quarters over 2 years, and it changed. It's changed a few times since its inception in the CARES Act. So that's another reason why it requires a little more focus and sophistication. But generally what you want to understand is in the year of 2020, you can qualify for up to $5,000 per employee. So again, and we'll go through the criteria, but if you qualify for that year, there's up to $5,000 available in a tax credit to your company. They did some changes, made some adjustments. In 2021, they moved that amount to $7,000 per employee per quarter for 3 quarters, okay? So some quick little math, 5,000 plus 21,000, the total potential tax credit possible per employee is about $26,000, and that's what this graphic covers here. So it can be a very sizable resource and support mechanism and help you pivot, especially. And also, again, if you haven't had a chance to hear about it, this is a great way to learn about it. And then we have some folks who are going to be available to answer questions and support you. So, taking that amount, how does this add up for me as an employer? What I'm sharing with you is just some basic math, and to keep it simple so that we can kind of do the math in our head, when it comes to estimating how it might impact me as an employer. Here we have an example of an employer who has, let's say, 20 eligible employees. Maybe they have 40, but only 20 are eligible. And let's say that they weren't able to achieve the entire $26,000 per employee. For ease of math, let's just say it's $20,000. So in this particular example, we have an employer that has 20 eligible employees, average about $20,000 per employee, adding up to about $400,000 in tax credits that they can apply. So just want to share that math, and then you can apply that to your own situation or somebody who could really use this type of program. This slide, I just want to make sure everybody's aware of the types of sectors of businesses that typically qualify. Everybody else, there's definitely some criteria that we want to review for everyone, but these are some of the folks that typically qualify. But again, don't be afraid to apply or dig in and research some more. So daycare centers, franchises, gyms and fitness centers. I know a lot of my friends were interrupted with that. Recreational facilities, nonprofits. If you are employing somebody as a W-2, yes, you can participate. Restaurants and breweries. I've had a number of friends in this particular space working hard to work hard through the pandemic. So this program helps them out. Resorts, hotels, motels, transportation companies. And then here locally in Monterey, we do know that we had a resort. They were able to acquire about 1.7 million in tax credits. And then a smaller firm, a local IT services company, they picked up about 300,000 in tax credits. So again, very sizable depending upon the size of your company, but it's intended to really try to help you get through this particular challenge. All right, so the big question is, how do I know if I'm eligible? These are the three big criteria that we start with. There's a lot of other little details that we can get into and that you'll want to get into and understand, and we can help you with that. But these three things will help you kind of decide if you want to dig in deeper. So the first thing is, did your company experience a reduction in gross receipts over, I believe, the 2019 to 2021? I'll let Laura pop in a second here to get the details of that. The second big thing is, was your business forced to reduce operations because of a government mandate? You had to close your doors, couldn't allow as many customers in, all sorts of things like that we'll have to dive into. And then the third category is, did you start your business after February 15th of 2020? Again, there's other little qualifying criteria, but these are the three types of large criteria that you want to look at as far as whether or not I can participate. A little note here, I put this graphic up as far as the expertise you want to be engaging to help you with this. Because this involves payroll, if you have healthcare, if you provide healthcare, that's going to factor in. If you were involved in a PPP loan, that will be factored in. Obviously, you have to have an expert in taxes and, of course, the accounting and how that all works together. So when you're looking for help, make sure that they do have a clear understanding and bring these lenses to your particular situation. You want them to understand all of these disciplines in order to help you navigate and thread that needle for this particular program. All right, I think what I'm going to do is hand it over to Laura. And if Laura, are you on?
I'm here. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, excellent. So I will move the slides forward for you, but
Sure.
I believe this is probably where you do your best help and shine.
Sure. Thanks, Andrew. Actually, if you just want to pop back to the last slide quickly, I just want to mention that all of these qualifications stand separately. So you don't need to have a reduction in gross receipts and have a government mandated order. That's just one place where I think there's a lot of confusion with this credit and people thinking they don't qualify. So I just really wanted to emphasize that you only need to meet one of these requirements to be eligible to take this credit. So we can continue forward. Like has been said already, this is just a really, really lucrative program. And we've been helping a lot of businesses stay afloat and get these funds. There's been a lot of misconceptions about this program. Again, like I just mentioned, people think they need to meet more qualifications than they actually do. Or for when this credit was initially announced, you couldn't take it if you had taken a PPP loan, and that has since been repealed and changed. So the opportunity for this credit is there for a lot more businesses than it probably was initially. I also hear a lot of businesses saying, well, my CPA told me I can't claim this credit. And that may have been true at the time, but things have been changing and evolving. just like everything during these COVID times. So really feel free to reach out and we can make sure that your situation hasn't changed. Typically the credit is going to apply to companies that have 500 employees or less. And those employees have to be W-2 employees. Contractors that receive a 1099 payment would not be considered employees. Also, we can't use wages from family members of owners to claim this credit. Also, in places like California, it's really important to think about what mandates impacted your business during 2020 and 2021. I know in California, you guys had tons of different restrictions that could potentially impact your business. The obvious example that we always see is restaurants who could only provide takeout or had limited capacities. I think similar situations apply to like salons and some of those other businesses that Andrew had already mentioned. So there are some really obvious businesses that will qualify that way. But if you're not sure, feel free to reach out. Again, there's a lot of nuanced things with this that we can be looking at. For example, some manufacturers had supply chain issues because of COVID restrictions. Maybe a plant that produces a product in another state had to shut down because of their state's COVID restrictions, or a shipping port had to shut down and they couldn't get the appropriate supplies. So things like that, we can definitely look into. And at ERTC funding, we work with lawyers to get opinions to make sure that we are measuring that level of risk and what qualifies for the credit. So just going over to the other side of the slide, the things that we need when we're evaluating if you are eligible for the credit, we look at profit and loss statements to see if you've had the gross receipt reductions. We discuss any of those mandates that might qualify for suspension rules. Then we'll review the payroll tax information to calculate the amount of the credit.
Hey, Laura, we had somebody ask about the family thing. Could you cover that for folks?
Sure. Oh, any exceptions? Unfortunately not. That has been a downside for some of the smaller businesses. For example, just today I was working with someone who had 5 employees, but they were 2 50% owners and then a sister and a brother-in-law. And unfortunately, then only the one employee qualifies. They put this in place just because they don't want everyone adding their family members onto payroll and claiming all these credits. So unfortunately, not any exceptions for family members. If you have a business with multiple owners, and these probably aren't the smaller businesses, but if it's less, an owner is less than 50% ownership, then those family members can potentially be claimed.
Okay.
And
So-
also the owner is not allowed to qualify if they are over, if they own more than 50% of the company. When you start getting under 50% ownership, then there's some different options that we can look at.
So rule of thumb is majority owner, probably not, but as you get into smaller fractional ownership, there may be some possibilities or not at all.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. No, that was a great question. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And then I always like trying to give folks just on the guidance part. So this is the checklist for anybody, not just for your methodology, but anybody who's going to be providing these services. They're going to need these documents no matter what.
Absolutely. If you're going to talk with your current CPA or you're going to try to come up with some information on your own, this is the documentation that you would need to look at. I've been a CPA for about 10 years and I've worked kind of with all these different providers. What I'm seeing come from payroll providers, such as like ADP or Paychecks, they're not really analyzing a lot of this information, not finding ways to maximize the credit. They're just kind of taking whatever information you give them, throwing it on their 941s and claiming the credit. So for most businesses that started that way, maybe already claimed the credit through a payroll tax provider, we're finding that we can get them either more money or it just wasn't done correctly. Just because most of the times payroll providers are only required to report information. They're not really taking responsibility for the calculation and the numbers that you're providing.
Okay.
And then a lot of CPAs I'm working with as well, just haven't had the time to get around to these credits. So they're outsourcing to companies like ERTC Funding, who can really focus on the full picture and have a good understanding of all the guidance that's been released. They're really backed up too with all the tax return extensions and things, PPP loans and things that have been going on as well.
Right. So real quick, I know that we only have a bit of time, and we're kind of jumping into the Q&A, so I apologize, everybody. You know, these are just some common questions. The quick thing I did want to share with folks on this slide, though, is there are some resources. If you're not quite sure what mandates are impacting you, which is highly unlikely, because if it's impacted you, you know exactly which one it is. But if you do need that, there's some websites here. This is listed. It'll be on the presentation and resources provided by Paul's team.
And also be aware that those mandates can be at the state level, or it can go down to county or city level as well.
Yes. So Paul, it looks like we're kind of getting in the Q&A. I think we kind of covered what we needed to cover as far as high level. I want to provide as much time for Q&A, so I'm just gonna kind of close it out just with everybody as far as our recommendations. Here's the thing, we have a checklist, we'll provide that as well, but you want to bring all that together. By all means, work with somebody you've already worked with. You can ask them, what their opinion on it. If they feel like they're able to work with you, great. If not, we're available as well. I invite everybody to schedule some time. We can schedule time with one of the providers that we work with. I go through all of these folks as well through a pretty rigorous due diligence process. So my goal here is just to maintain a high level of quality, low amount of risk, and then making it accessible as possible for as many people who can qualify. So with that, Paul, I wanted to kind of give it back to you, unless there's anything burning a hole in your pocket, Laura.
No, I could just answer some of these questions once you guys have wrapped up.
Okay, yeah, Laura, why don't you go ahead and answer the question about how late they can apply for this? Jessica asked. Go ahead.
Sure, and I can go into a little more detail. So in order to claim this credit, you claim it on the Form 941 that you file every quarter for your payroll taxes. And you have up to 3 years to amend those payroll tax returns. So the first quarter that was eligible that you can make claims on was the second quarter of 2020. So you have until the second quarter of 2023 to make those claims. And then it's rolling, right? So the last quarter of eligibility is Q3 or Q4, depending on your situation, of 2021. So then you would have until 2024 to make those claims.
So the message is get in there quick because the window's closing. Not
Yes,
quick, but
yes.
I mean, the window is closing.
And yeah, it's good to just get in there, and you want to get in the queue. The IRS is backed up. So unfortunately, that is a downside, is that there's not any.
So Laura, and I see there's a lot of questions. We'll do our best to answer the questions. If we run over, we'll track them down and we'll send you answers. But there's a question in Salinas whether the revenue reduction is per quarter or for the entire fiscal year.
So the revenue reduction is per quarter compared to your 2019 gross receipts. Yeah, it's a gross receipts reduction. So some non-accounting people don't get that confused with what your net income was for the year. So gross receipts, basically money coming into the business. In 2020, you have to have a 50% reduction when compared to 2019, but 2021 is a little easier to qualify. You have to have a 20% reduction when compared to 2019. And again, if you're close, definitely reach out and talk. Sometimes there's some misunderstandings on what qualifies as gross receipts and what does not. Also, there are some different options of looking, what we call look backs, right? So maybe if you qualify for one quarter, we can qualify for the next one as well. A lot of nuanced things like that going on as well.
Great. Laura, Norm asks if the payroll records provided can be in summary, or do they need to be specific to each employee, including their social security numbers?
Sure. So this credit is on an employee by employee basis, right? So we max out the credit for what was paid to an employee. We can only claim $10,000 of wages per employee, either for year or quarter. So we do need the wages by employee. We do not need social security numbers. We will just be making sure we are getting accurate data or complete data by looking at the 941s that you file. We don't need employee social security numbers with that.
Great. And Lee has a couple of questions. One's about the amount that is charged, and maybe Andrew, you can answer how you schedule an appointment, determine if it makes sense, and then how ERTC funding works. Lee's asking specifically what the contingency amount is of the credit.
Yeah, so I know we talked about this as far as, what's out there in the market. We looked at about 6 to 7 different providers, and the market is, it's a nice bell curve, right? You've got those folks who are driving volume, and then you got those folks who are really focused in on risk. So we saw everything from at the lowest amount was an 8%, but it was tied to signing on for their HR services. So if you were a small business or a business where you're looking for your HR back office and all that kind of back office operation, they would be able to provide you those types of services. That was one pricing model. On the other side of the spectrum, we have seen folks charge a 30% contingency fee and estimating what they think you would be getting and then charging that as a deposit. So for example, let's just say that they sat down and they said, okay, it looks like you're going to receive $100,000 in tax credits. We'll take $30,000 up front to do all the paperwork and get everything lined up. And then when the contingency comes in, we'll do a percentage of that. So anywhere from 8% with extra services on top to a high end of 30%. The providers that we worked with, we went with just basic market rate, which we saw was around 20%. And that included, again, a lot of the risk management, having a lot of the multiple disciplines to participate. This is not a payroll company that we're partnering with and that we're advocating for. This is a team that, knows how to thread this needle, especially with the PPP in the background. So between our partners, that's kind of where we've been operating, and that's what we've helped negotiate.
All right, thank you. It is noon, so I will give the parting comment. I want to thank our partners from ERTC Funding and Andrew Anson for giving the presentation today. If you put questions in the chat box, we will do our best to get an answer to you. Also, the most important thing that we want for Monterey County is we want businesses to understand that this money is out there, and we want everybody who's eligible to apply for it. So if you know anybody who you think might be eligible, please send them over to our team and buildingbusinessback.com. MontereyCountyBusiness.com and the Building Business Back program, and we will do our best to help them. Okay. And if you follow us on social media at the bottom of our website, whenever new opportunities come up, we'll share them on our social media. And if you hear of any new programs, let us know, because there's a lot of things out there by lots of different organizations. And again, we're hoping to be the home for all of that, to help all of the businesses and nonprofits in Monterey County to be able to take advantage of these opportunities. So again, we want to thank everybody for participating today. We will put the link to this recording up on our website, and we hope to see you at our next workshop next month. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Was great.
All right.
Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, Laura.
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
Excuse me, can I ask you a question?
All right. Philip, I'm going to stay on for a moment, but I'll mute ourselves.
Yes, I may.
Yeah.
Paul? I unmuted myself. Can you hear me? Paul, you're on mute. I can hear you.
Okay, Levon, well, thank you for taking the time to come today.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll personally follow up with them. So I'll ask them if they could give you a call.
Yeah, because I had joined the chamber years ago,
Okay,
but,
Awesome. Thank you very much.
all right.
okay,
All right, well, I wish you a good day.
thank you.
Hi, Paul. So I have everything saved on a Word document. I'm probably gonna spend today afternoon, tomorrow morning, just cleaning it up and sending it, putting the link on YouTube and making sure we send it to all the people who participated along with the survey for them to put.
All right, so I saw the maximum number of people. I only had like 4 people show up here.
Okay, so I had 6 people here in Salinas.
And then I saw like 33 online at one
In
point.
total, there was 42. People kept coming in and dropping out.
Oh, okay, cool. And I'm just glad we figured out the interpreter thing like at the
Ooh,
last
minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Anywho, okay, well, I'm in Monterey, obviously. I'm gonna stop by my house and change, and then I'll go into the office. So
Okay.
I'll be in the office between probably 1 and 2.
Sounds good.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you for your help. Bye.